All right, guys. Hey, thank you for joining us. Just want to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody who's joining us in the room at the moment. Big thank you to Joe and Sebastian for joining me up on stage here today. And yeah, guys, this is the Webflow Weekend Hustle. We run this session every Saturday at 5 p.m. GMT, 12 p.m. CT. And yeah, today, guys, we're going to be going over client first stories. So I just want to let Joe and Sebastian introduce themselves, and then we'll get right on into it. So Sebastian, hey.
Good evening. Glad to be here again. Hello, Joe. I'm glad you could also join us tonight, or for you, I think it's morning now. Yeah, I'm Sebastian Baier. I run a digital marketing agency in Bucharest, and I'm really happy to be here today. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Sebastian, and hey, Harry, how's it going? I'm happy to be here too. This is my first time in Clubhouse, so I am very excited. I run an agency called Finsweet. We do Webflow exclusive development work. And yeah, I'm excited for this weekend hustle. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Sebastian. Yeah, Harry Roper. I run a Webflow agency in the UK. So, guys, yeah, I'm just going to invite three of you up. So if you'd like to come up and say hello quickly and tell us who you are and why you're here, feel free to put your hand up. I'm sure that we've seen there's some familiar faces here that we know of already. If nobody wants to jump in, then that's fine. We can just carry on. Hey, Grace. How's it going? Why don't you tell everybody your name, where you're calling from, and how come you joined the room today?
Yeah, for sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Grace. I'm a freelance Webflow designer and developer based in Calgary, Canada. I'm in my first year of freelancing and joined the call because I love talking about Webflow. These have been pretty valuable every weekend so far. They're a nice way to start my slower weekend work pace.
Awesome, Grace. Thank you. Hey, Thomas. Good to see you. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're calling from, and why you joined the room?
Hi, my name is Tomasz Nowicki, but everybody call me Tom. I'm based in the UK, in a place called Leicester. I currently work full-time for SmugMug, which is the company that owns Flickr. But I also have my own business, additional business that where I do websites for small businesses.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Really good to see you both. I hope you can stick around and do some Q&A through the session, as you know, so hopefully we'll be able to get you back up on stage again. So, yeah, I guess like the whole emphasis of this session, guys, is to go over first client stories, mistakes that we've made at the beginning of our own journeys, and hopefully things that you can avoid yourselves. So I guess no pressure, Joe, but I'll throw the first question to you. Do you remember your first client, and what was that experience like for you?
I do. I remember the first client, absolutely. And I'm still in contact with her. Every few months I get a message. The website's still live. It was a great project. It was a little over 5 years ago. And it actually turned out really well. Some of the clients after the first were not as good, but the very first one was a huge success. It was a wedding planning website for a wedding planner. And it was a cold call. First cold call, got the sale, got the first website, and it was the very first start of my web career.
I'm curious, Joe, how did you get into Webflow? Did you use something else where you developed before, or how did it all started?
Started on WordPress. I knew nothing about websites when I first started with websites. So WordPress at the time was the logical answer. You could download a template, you could download some plugins, and you could make something nice without touching code, touching CSS or anything. So I put together this templated website for this wedding planner, all on WordPress, and she loved it. It
Nice.
was live for
Super nice. And were there any like key lessons that you kind of learned from this client and like took away? Obviously, it's your first, I guess, commercial experience, earnings, the first and maybe even the second.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned from this first client to be really friendly and really transparent. That's how she was, and that is how I was on that first call. I gave her all the power in the beginning. I said, this is my very first site. I don't have any examples to show you other than some sites I messed around with just on a personal level. And I don't know if it's going to be a perfect website, but I'm going to do my best. And you only have to pay me if you love it. So all the power for her. I just wanted to do something. I wanted to get started. I wanted to see if this was something I was interested in pursuing. And she said yes. We were very open, very transparent. And yeah, those are the biggest takeaways from that first project. Just be honest. And that, of course, that mentality is followed all the way through for the entire web career.
That's so interesting. So would you say that you didn't know if you wanted to do websites to begin with, and this was like the test to see if it was an interest of yours?
Exactly. I always thought that websites would be something on the side while I would find something else to do. It was a way to make some side money, generate some interest in something as I was looking for my full-time position. And this first project really did help me figure out that this is something I wanted to do. She loved the site. It was beautiful. She was getting more leads, and that type of thing really motivated me. So yeah, it was a huge success.
Super nice. That's super motivating as well, I guess, because it gives you the confidence then when you walk into that next client meeting to say, hey, I just did a smashing job, and now I want to do you the same sort of job.
Yeah. And also let me add on to that this first project was a huge success, but it was very difficult to get the second one. The first one was in development for, 1 month, 2 months. So I didn't have any real examples to show anybody. The second project was weeks of trying, cold calling, asking friends, asking for referrals. So it was not an easy process. It wasn't first project, second project, third project, and done. It was a first great project, and then a lot of difficulty in finding those next clients.
So that's really curious. So you gave her a cold call, and what was the thing that you said to her that kind of kept her on the call? I know it may be a while back, so yeah, can you remember what it was that you managed to grab her attention with?
Yeah, the transparency and the honesty, and the fact that I was not going to accept payment unless she loved it. And I was very clear about that. I just want a chance to build your website. I think I can do this quality, and I think I can do this quality. And if you like this quality at the end of it, pay me. If you don't, this would be my test, and you can walk away as if nothing happened. And after I said that, she said, okay, why would I not say yes to this? Of course. So that sold her right away, and it was an instant connection from there.
Nice. So that's really cool for the rest of the group who are listening, potentially going into your first client or your second or third. Offering that kind of deal can show like they really care about their business and you're not really interested in the money, right? And I guess that's where you were coming from as well, Joe. Like you just wanted to do them a great job at the end of the day.
Exactly. And it was such a good relationship, and she was such an important client to me that her site was the first one that I built in Webflow, or one of the first, maybe the second website I built in Webflow. A way that I learned Webflow is I built all of the WordPress sites that I made in the past few months on Webflow. So I copied it exact migration, same content, same layout, just added some interactions to it, and then I had some Webflow experience. And I didn't charge her for it. I just said, I rebuilt your site. It's faster. It looks better. It moves better. You don't have to pay me. This was also just a test. Thank you. So yeah, it was a win-win for everybody. Win for her, win for me, all the way through, years after that first sale.
Nice. I'm curious. You mentioned with the second client, it was much harder for you. So how did you handle this? How was this for you? This, because I think everybody was in this state that there was no client coming, and it was kind of frustrating, I think, for you as well at this time.
Very frustrating, yes. The very first call that I made was that first client.
Yeah.
I got it on the very first call. So I thought from there, okay, cold calling is going to work. Set up a cold calling schedule, and I'm just going to get, if I'm 10% successful, I now have a business. So I planned out weeks of cold calling, and I cold called for weeks. I made over 100 cold calls, and literally not one of them closed.
Crazy.
Most did not respond, and it was terrible. It was very, very discouraging. But still, with that first project, it still gave me the motivation, and I knew, hey, I can do this. Maybe cold calling's not the way to do it, but I can do it. I can find a way to do it. And the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one, those came through friends. I was telling all my friends, this is what I'm doing. I was making fun websites for them, fun websites for me. I was just, having fun in WordPress. And I got a few referrals from friends, all small projects, all little, small budget, but that's how those next few came. And then after I had a portfolio of, let's say, 4 or 5, that's when other people started to naturally come.
And that's probably when you decided to make your own company and start your own business.
No, Finsweet was from the beginning.
Okay.
Even when it was a side, the idea was a side project. From that very first call, it was Finsweet. It was incorporated. It was New York State incorporated. It always, I recommend operating under a business rather than your personal name.
Nice, thanks. Lydia, I can see your hands up. We'll go to Q&A in just 10 or 20 minutes if you can hold on. And we'll get you up here and you can ask a question. Guys, if any of you would like to come up and ask any questions as well to Joe, Sebastian, and I, you can raise your hands and I'll bring you up in the next wave, so to speak. Sebastian, I'm interested. Do you remember your first client?
Yeah, we had yesterday when we were preparing a bit, we had a discussion and I was like, I can't remember, but I can still remember the client that we had here in our agency in Bucharest. And I'm still in contact with him, but it didn't start it out as for Joe, It was in events and we had to promote an event for him. And he was texting, honestly, he was texting us, I think 24 hours. It was crazy. I was like, what the fuck is going on, It was a storm of messages because he always wanted to ask, how is my ad performing? How many tickets did we sell? And yeah, that was at the beginning really, really like scary, even also for my employees, because we didn't know exactly how we should handle it. But then when we had some meetings and we told them, hey, you need to run the ads, we need to be what Joe mentioned, like transparent, also explain him, because he wasn't like into Facebook or Instagram and so on. So we needed to explain him what is the process, how does it work, and then it got a bit less, But I got the client not with a cold call. So I was actually at an event of the Chamber of Commerce, Romania, Germany. And at this event, I met him and I was like, he was like asking if it helps something to sell events online, if I would think that would work. And I said, yeah, definitely. And we can make this happen. And I offered him like, hey, just give me a call and then we will start with it. We show you and explain you a bit how it goes. And that's how we started, And from him, we got then other clients recommended from the events business. And so we landed at the beginning of our career in the event business until we had then No, not last year, the year before last year, because COVID, there wasn't so many concerts. We promoted Bon Jovi here in Bucharest. That was like a really big thing for us here.
And when you met this first client, right? So you went to an event at the Chamber of Commerce to get it. What sort of conversation were you having with him at the event that made him trust you to work with you?
First of all, I think one thing was that I'm still German, you know. This was a big trust factor, and also that I told him or I explained him and gave him examples how it's going to work. And I also told him that we can first see the 2 weeks how it goes. And then if he doesn't like it, we can still like finish it, like stop it, and he can do it the old way. But after the 2 weeks, he was convinced, because we sold already some tickets and we wanted also to improve. We told him we have some new ideas that we can improve, and that's when we kept going, you know. And that was the first talk. And yeah, I think it was he trusted us, because once he saw I told him I will do my best, as Joe did, and that's when he agreed to work with us.
Super nice, super nice. It's a great thing as well, actually, for some of you guys in the audience to try and maybe offer a trial like Sebastian did of your services, in order for the client to get comfortable. You can build some rapport with them. They can get used to you being honest with them and giving them advice, and hopefully the trial works out and you can continue to do good work with them. Some really great points, guys. Thank you for sharing your stories on that. I guess I'm really interested, and we'll start with you, Joe. There's a lot of people here, especially young people who are just sort of starting out. I'm interested if you could wind back time, what you would recommend to yourself or to somebody in the audience for them to get their first client.
Don't give up. Don't give up. There were so many times where I thought, hey, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I do need to go and find something else to do, and websites will just be on the side. But I always fought past that. So it can be discouraging, just like any new thing that you're learning and any new thing that you're trying. But if you really want to do it, if you really like doing it, you have to fight through that. So that's what I would recommend. Don't back down just because it's not working out right now.
Sure. So like more of a mindset thing, and just keep the motivation going. Were there any points where you were feeling sort of down or a bit like, fed up because you weren't getting clients in, and were there any tactics you used to kind of like push yourself forward and help you rethink the situation a bit?
Keep learning. The learning is really what kept me going. Even though clients weren't coming in, I felt myself getting better. And I knew that as I got better, it would get easier. I would have more things to show off. I would have more knowledge in the sale. And that learning process was really important to me. And that's actually what brought me into Webflow and really got me interested in Webflow, because when I got to Webflow, I felt my learning skyrocket. And that feeling is really powerful. So keep learning. There's never any downtime when you're building websites. If you're not working on a client site, you can always work on something. You can always start learning.
Thank you. That's really nice. Keep learning and keep going as well, which is great. It's great points, really. Sebastian, what would you recommend for somebody to get their first client, or when they get their first client?
The same what Joe did, of course. It's mainly from my point of view also like with the mind. So to have the motivation to go on with it, and find a niche that fits for you, or where you have some connections. I think it's always good to get some referrals, like you get in contact with friends or with somebody that needs it, and then like start with this over contacts that you have already. I think this is the easiest. I think cold calls is really hard. I think Joe was really lucky that with his first call he got the client. But I think I would recommend, from my experience, it's good if you look in your network and find there somebody.
I'd love to add to that, and I also agree. Do not cold call. That is, I also do not like that method. I would never cold call now. Something else that you really need to be aware of is that you can't be picky. When you're first starting out, you cannot cherry pick your projects. You can't make all the rules. You don't have that power over the client. You need to start taking on work. You need to start getting better. And sometimes the terms may not be what you want. But if you can learn a lot from that project, if you can have a new awesome portfolio item, not having all of the benefit is okay. Not having the upper hand in the contract. I'll give you a great example. One of the first few projects, it was $400 US. It was a giant WordPress blog, and it took over 2 months to build. 400 USD, over 2 months to build. That is terrible, terrible, terrible money. But I learned a lot from that project, and that's the project that made me start looking away from WordPress. That's what made me find Webflow. So I learned an incredible amount in that $400 project, and I just took it. Any project that came my way, it was a yes, because I didn't have the power to make the rules. I needed work, and I needed to go and build things. So just do it. Don't be picky. Just go for it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This is also what we did at the beginning, and after every client, we got some new learnings, what we could take from it, and we got better and better with the learnings we had. We had some like nice examples, like nice case studies that we could take on, and from there, then at one point it goes somehow by itself. So the client's coming by themselves because they heard of your work, that you did a great job, and at one point it goes by itself. That's how it goes for me.
So I just wanted to reiterate on what both of you have said as well. Personal contacts. I think my first client was for a friend. Just asking all of your friends, does anybody know anybody who needs a website, or do any of your parents who are running businesses, if any of them are entrepreneurs, can I build them their website or redo their website? Is a great way to start. I'm a bit more of have a bit more bravado when it comes to when I started my business, wherein I would just walk into businesses and just sort of ask to speak to the managing director, and then I would just say, hey, can we talk about your website? I have some ideas, and sort of present it to them. I wouldn't really advise on this because it is leaning on the cold calling side that Sebastian and Joe said, but I guess when you're young and you've got nothing to lose, then you're just willing to go in and talk to people, especially when you're passionate about web design, I think, and you can see that businesses that you care about in your local area aren't doing what they could be doing and using, great tools like Webflow. Back then I was astounded that people still use WordPress when we had, this great tool to use, but a lot of people still do use it, and I think, as Joe and Sebastian both said, like being transparent and talking to them about the benefits of it can really help. Not everybody knows what a web design tool is or how a website is built. Sometimes we have to remember that when we're talking to clients, that they might not be as clued up as us, and you have to kind of talk around the subject and help bring that across. Okay, I'm going to bring Lydia up, who has had her hand up very patiently for the whole time. And let her ask a question. If any of you would like to ask a question in regards to your first client, then please raise your hand as well and we'll bring you up. But yeah, Lydia, hey, how's it going?
Hi, so good to be here. Thank you, Joe, for sharing your story. And I do have a question about how you started. So you mentioned that it wasn't your first website designed, only the first one developed on Webflow, if that's correct. And did you decide to charge for a whole project only if she loved it, including design, or like you didn't divide the project into two parts? Hope my question was clear. That's what was I'm curious about.
Yes, absolutely. It was a flat cost, design, development, go live. And at the time, I didn't even really think of those as two different services. I was so new in this industry that design and development, it was just the same thing. It was making a website. So yes, it was a flat cost. It's going to be done at this time, and that's it. There's no revision counts, no rules. Just let me make your website. And the first few projects went like that as well, with design, with development. Just let me do it. Let's figure out how to make you a great website and for you to be happy at the end.
Wow, that's very brave because I'm actually in kind of similar situation because I design, like I have experience designing websites like a lot, but I'm just developing my website on Webflow. It's like my project where I kind of learn that I want to develop it from start to finish and go live with it. So I'm kind of confident that I can deliver. But yeah, I was thinking to do something similar what you did, but charge for design because I feel like it's a part that can be charged for. And if they want me to develop it on Webflow, they can pay only if they love the end product. I hope it was clear. I don't know. What do you think?
Sure, absolutely. That is definitely something you can do, especially if you are a designer. Right now, that's what we do at Finsweet. We work on very different projects than the projects I was originally working on. They're much bigger, but we have a clear definition of design and development. We don't design, we only develop. So a company would hire somebody like you to design it, and then they would hire us to develop it. The only thing that you should be aware of is that as companies get smaller, they may not have the budget to have design and development as separate services, and they may be looking to have those combined into one service. So something I can recommend that you do is partner with a Webflow developer. There are a lot of Webflow developers that love building on Webflow, but they know that they are terrible designers, and that's okay. Some people are more on the design side, some people are more on the development side. And early on in my career, I paired with a designer so that I could get better projects. I knew that my design skill only went up to a certain level, and after that, I was not good enough to produce at that quality. So I paired with a designer. He was Hungarian. He worked with me for 3 years. He knew nothing about Webflow. I knew nothing about design principles. So he designed, I developed, and to the client, it was one flat cost. So that really worked for us early on. That wasn't the first few projects I did, but maybe after 4 or 5 projects, I started doing that. So that's something you can also consider doing.
Thanks, Joe. I hope that answered your question, Lydia.
Yeah, thank you so much. It really makes sense, and that's what I was thinking about as well. But yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Lydia. Hey, Guy. How's it going?
Hey, pretty good, thanks. If anybody's listening, come up and speak. Joe's like a Webflow rock star and a legend, so this is a pretty great opportunity if you guys are listening and are Webflow developers. Get up here and speak with him. Hey, Joe, thanks for jumping into this. This is pretty cool for you to jump in here. I'm a huge Finsweet fan myself, and I'm more business owner than a Webflow developer, but it's great to have you in here and talk with us. So thanks for joining up. Guys, get in here and speak with him. He's a freaking legend and a rock star. I don't necessarily have too many questions, Joe. I just wanted to listen in to your feedback and input.
Thank you, Guy. I really appreciate that. Yeah, hearing that really makes my day. So thank you.
Awesome. Guy, no question, man. Just to say hello.
Yeah, like I said, man, I'm more of a business owner, so I'm more of the typical user of Webflow. I mean, I don't really have development or design as a service business for Webflow, so I'm more of like a power user. I'm looking into picking up a couple of their tools with Finsweet, but mainly just an avid follower and an avid kind of a user myself. So a little bit different of an interaction with Joe and them. But like I said, I'm here to just follow up and listen and get some great feedback. If there's any other questions or topics brought up, I just like to listen and get great insight because I really like their products.
Awesome. All right, thank you, guys. I'll move you back to the audience for now, but if you do have any other questions, feel free to jump up and ask. And thanks for hyping up the room. Super cool. Joy, hey, how's it going? Oh, you might be muted, Joy. Alrighty. There we go.
About your first client, my question is, how was your workflow as far as development and revisions with your first client as compared to some of your other clients? Obviously now it's probably changed quite a bit, but just curious what it was like with that first client. How many times did you guys contact each other, show each other revisions, and then how has that evolved as you continue to grow?
I can't recall the exact interactions and the amount of interactions we had on that first project. It was a bit over 5 years ago. But there were no iteration counts on design. There were no iteration counts on development. And that is for every project that we've ever worked on, including the ones today. We do not have iteration counts. We will change your website as many times as you want so that you're happy at the end. I truly believe that our goal as web developers is to make our clients happy at the end. If that means we have to change it once, we'll change it once. If that means we have to change it 30 times, we'll change it 30 times. If we change it 30 times, we're not going to work with you again. And you're going to have a hard time finding good people to work with. But that doesn't matter. Some projects are really good margin. They're great. You love the client. Some projects don't work out the way that you want to. Still, doesn't matter. The goal is to get that client happy. So we don't have any rules for that. And we still don't, and I don't plan that we will have any rules for that in the future. A bit untraditional, but it works.
Awesome. Thanks for that.
Nice. Thanks, Joy. So, guys, I'm just going to reset the room and then we will move on. Christine, if you don't mind, we'll bring you up at the next round of Q&A in about 10 to 15 minutes. I hope that's okay. Leave your hand raised if you want, and then you'll be the first one up. No worries. Alrighty. Guys, just reset the room. So thank you very much to Joe and Sebastian for joining me today. This is the Webflow Weekend Hustle. We do this session every Saturday. And if you're not already part of it, we also have the Webflow Club on Clubhouse. If you join that, you'll see all of the events that we organise every week. We've got midweek networking that I know some of you have already been to, where we just sort of have a bit of a chat midweek. And we also do this session where we try to get interesting speakers in and share with you stories and information that can help you create or continue to grow your own Webflow agency. So if you haven't already, please give Joe a follow on Clubhouse, give Sebastian a huge follow, and if you'd be so kind, you can also follow me, and you'll get notified whenever any of us go into a room. That's kind of how Clubhouse works, and hopefully you'll unlock some more rooms by following us as well. So, guys, really excited to move on to the next section now, and we'll be opening up to Q&A at the end again, which will be your last chance to get in any questions that you have. Big thanks again to Joe for joining us today. And if you haven't already, I would check out Finsweet on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and you'll be able to find all the information about the agency there. So, guys, I'm moving on to the more exciting part of the event now. And I think hopefully it's going to bring up some funny stories, but we'll see. So the topic that I have written down here is what are some of the classic mistakes that you made with your first clients? And Joe, once again, I'll start it off with you, if that's okay.
I don't know how to answer this question directly. I'm not sure. Looking back on it, I'm so glad of every move that I made. Even if it seemed like a mistake, like the $400 for 2 months of work, I don't see that as a mistake. I see that as a huge win, a huge benefit for learning and understanding what type of projects I should and shouldn't take. So I guess my biggest mistake, now I have it. It was working on WordPress, using the wrong tools. And that also goes not only using WordPress, but using something like PayPal for invoicing, not keeping any kind of records in something neat and organized like Airtable. So not really with the clients, more of the platforms and the applications that I was using to run the business.
That's really interesting, Joe. I'm kind of interested to get your take on what you would say to these larger companies that are potentially using like WordPress at the moment. What's the usual thing that you'll say to a client as to why they should consider Webflow over WordPress?
When a company is considering WordPress, honestly, I try to make them feel like an idiot in the nicest way possible. I tell them that WordPress is the wrong decision, and I truly and honestly believe that. If you are building a marketing website, you are trying to market your business, WordPress is not the answer. Doesn't matter what feature or functionality you think you need that you think WordPress gives you, it can be done in Webflow. So I tried to really just say, that's not the right move. You should not be doing this, and if you do this, we have absolutely no interest in working with you. And when you come with that kind of passion and conviction towards using something like Webflow, people listen. And anytime somebody comes and they're in between Webflow and WordPress, we convert them right to Webflow. You pull up the editor, you start messing around with that on-page editor, and people just shut up and say, okay, I'll do Webflow, you got me.
Nice, and I totally believe that as well, considering how easy it is to edit a website on Webflow in comparison to WordPress. Hey guys, we probably all know that deep down as well. Sebastian, I'm interested to know if there are any, I guess the phrasing of the question, Joe, you're right. It's not like mistakes, but it's kind of like learnings from mistakes, let's put it. So Seb, any learnings from you?
Yeah, I think it's like a journey, you know. And some mistakes that others did at the beginning, you do a bit later. But yeah, I think it's always good to listen to somebody that did already the mistakes, not to do them again. Yeah, what I learned was, for example, with the payment, to get some payment in advance, because at the beginning we were so thinking, yeah, we just work and then we invoice it, but it doesn't work with every client like this, especially not in Romania. It didn't work so well. So it's good to have like a an advance payment before you start. And another thing that I learned also really quickly is with the contract, to have like a contract that is binding, especially when you have like, for me it's with the marketing service, when you have something going on for several months, to have a contract for this.
Yeah, nice. I would say that as well. I think what Joe said about unlimited revisions, you didn't hear me laughing because I had my mic muted, but you know, when you said if you've done 30 revisions, then probably we're not going to work with you anymore, and at the same time, like, you know, I completely lost my words. Yeah, so like in that regard, I think you have to be really open with a client and being able to like help them tweak a website so it's perfect, because I found more cases than ever, you will not get to the final version of a website within like 2 phases. There's always going to be those little bits that you're doing at the end, and there's always a kind of joke that I found among Webflow developers where it's like the last 5% of building a website is the hardest part, because you're always just trying to get those tiny little bits sort of wrapped up. But at the same time, you have to be sensible with the amount of revisions that you're offering a client. But it's nice not to be so cemented and to be a bit loose, and I think that definitely is part of the relationship that you have with a client as well, right? So if you're having a transparent and an open relationship with them, then you'll feel comfortable to make the changes that they want to make, and you'll also be able to have an open and honest conversation with them when it comes to a point where you say, okay, I feel like this is ready, so let's put this out. I'm going to invite 2 more people up to have a chat, so let's get Christine and Thomas up.
Can I add one bit to that transparency bit for the revisions?
Sure, Joe, please.
So we do offer unlimited revisions. It was like that from day one. It's like that today. But when you are transparent about it and you give them an honest answer, usually the revisions stop. Let me explain. If somebody continues to revise and revise and revise, that usually means that they're building the website. Right? They're designing the website. They're telling you what to do, and they're just changing. That leads to a bad-looking website. You're hiring me for design, and you're essentially telling me how to design. Tell the client that. Tell them, hey, you're hiring me. We keep changing it. This change is not good because of this problem. This change is going to be difficult for someone to read the text. And this is totally ruining your visual image that we built. People start to hear that and say, okay, you're right. Let me back up a little bit on this. In the development stage, if there are those tiny revisions that become bigger revisions towards the end of development, be transparent about it. We designed the site, you accepted it, and now we're changing things. Imagine building a house, and right when the house is done, you say, wait, let me remodel the kitchen. Even though the kitchen's totally done, you want to remodel it. The kitchen remodeled is not going to be as strong as if you just built it like that in the beginning. So tell them, the more changes we do later, the more your website is not going to be clean and strong and powerful. There's a lot of ways to talk about this and tell your clients, I will make these changes, but from my professional opinion, I do not think you should. And with that type of mentality and that type of communication, a lot of people back away. So be smart about it. Don't just mindlessly make the updates and just shut your mouth and work. Be open about it. Be transparent about it. Tell them that what they're doing is not in their best interest.
Couldn't agree with you more. And I think you're doing your client a service by being honest with them and telling them what's right and what's wrong. Because as Joe said, if you allow them to dictate where the website's going to go, then they're not hiring an expert. They're just hiring somebody to be a worker and build the website. And you always want to position yourself as the expert and build them the best thing that they can possibly have. So I think it's a great point, Joe. Really great point. Thank you for sharing that. Christine, you were first to put your hand up, so I'll pass the microphone to you. How's it going?
Great. Thank you again for having this room. Joe, I wanted to say first off that I love the content and tools that you put out. Really appreciate all of those. I do have some specific questions. One thing I really like about your website is how you're really upfront with the pricing. I assume that kind of helps weed out any unnecessary conversations. But I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing what you actually include in the the branding and designing portion of your site. What are some of the steps that go into that with a client?
We have never followed that, by the way. That is really just a visual, and it's just to weed out the people that we don't want to work with. Right when we put the pricing on the website, the unqualified leads disappeared. We used to get unqualified leads daily. We put that pricing on the website, they went away. Still, when we put it on the website, we found that it doesn't really work for a lot of use cases. That it's very difficult to have some type of a builder like that really figure out a unique website's price based on some general builder. So we don't follow those prices. It's just a cool visual for people to look at. And people, when they get on the phone with us, they know around what the price
I do like how you're kind of setting the expectation of the price with the client. But what would you say is generally sort of the steps involved when you're onboarding a client from like the visual branding perspective?
That's a great question, and that is one of the core reasons why we dropped design as a service. We no longer design websites because that question is really difficult to answer. Every single design and branding project is unique. It takes time to scope. It takes time to understand what that client wants. It takes phone calls. It takes messages. It takes examples. It takes intros to your designers. This is a difficult and time-consuming process, and that's why we do not offer it, or one of the reasons why we no longer offer it. Before I get into anything with design, I'll say development is much easier. Now that we do development-only work, somebody can send us an email, and we can start working on that project, sign statement of work the next day. There's no phone call needed. We have a portfolio that shows our skill. We have the knowledge and the education to pick out all the pieces in their design that need to be changed based on Webflow, and development is very easy to scope. But for that branding and design side, the first thing that I try to do, or I did for branding and design, is to find out sites that they love. That's going to really set the expectation of what they're looking for. If people are sending you Stripe.com, they're sending you abstract.com, and they're sending you all of these beautiful design websites, and they come in with a small budget, or really any budget that's not some giant number, they have high expectations for a low budget. So get them to send you sites that inspire them, that they want their site to be inspired by, and make sure that you can hit that visual style and that their budget or what you want to charge them relates to those examples. That's the best way that I've approached branding and design projects.
Thanks, Joe. I hope that answered your question,
Thank
Christine.
you.
Cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut into you there.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm done.
Thanks, Christine. Hey, Tom. How's it going?
Thank you. So, Joe, you probably know me from your Slack channel and from your YouTube account. I'm a huge fan of your work and what you are bringing to the community. I've been using a lot of your tools, like the filter, like even the language switcher. But I wanted to actually comment, or maybe this is a question. We'll see about what you said about WordPress and Webflow. You see, I am a huge fan of Webflow, but there are still some situations where I cannot use it. And that situation is, for example, multilingual support. I recently have created a website for a customer that is based in Japan, and I've done everything in Webflow, and I implemented Weglot, which the customer was happy with. But we realize now that that was a small mistake because of how Weglot how it treats the language, how it wraps the words and letters. And the problem is that you don't have much of a control on how it looks. Have you ever had situation like that? That you had something like, for example, a multilingual website, and Weglot wasn't. Webflow wasn't the best solution. And how did you overcome this?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, Tom. Weglot is not a perfect service. It works for some people. It does not work for others. We don't get a lot of multilingual sites. We work with a lot of US companies, mostly dealing with English and other languages sometimes they care about, but usually they're so sold on Webflow, they'll even drop their language support just to use Webflow. I don't have suggestion here is to work with companies that do not rely on language translation for their site.
Right, but that's why I, for example, think that keeping WordPress or even Joomla, because Joomla actually has even better integrated multilingual support, is a solution, because I've done before websites in WordPress and in Joomla, and that's why I still keep them in like the bottom drawer. So if there's a situation where Webflow doesn't work, I try to reach to them. But the company is actually an English company, but they use they also have a market in Japan. And the problem with Weglot is that it wraps the letters weirdly, and in their language, depending where the word wraps, it means something else. So it can be gibberish, and of course you don't want to offend anybody. Okay, thank you very much.
Great. I would have also another question that I'm curious, Joe, is how do you see this Webflow development going in the next years? Also, I saw there are lots of other players now coming up and so on. So what is your opinion? How do you see it in the future? How does it go?
Do you mean how does it go in terms of competitors of Webflow?
Yeah, from
the development of the platform.
The development of the platform, that would be the first question, and the second question would be also in terms of the competitors.
I cannot see a competitor chasing Webflow. I think the Webflow community is so strong and so powerful that even if a new tool were to come, everything that's going on in Webflow is too powerful. I don't think anybody's catching them. In terms of their future platform development, I don't really like to speculate about that, because there's no way to know. And they have said things in the past that have not come true. They have been not as transparent about some things that we don't know about. And that's a big reason why we create the tools that we create, because we're not waiting for them to develop things. We're going to figure out how to do it ourselves. So I think they're going to continue building a great platform, and I think that every time they release something, it's going to be better than the competition, but who knows what the heck's going to happen in a year from now.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I understand you.
Really nice. I just wanted to sort of jump in as well, Joe, whether you're able to share or want to share with everyone where you kind of want to take Finsweet in the next year or the next couple of years. I know it's a big question, but interested to hear where you see the company going now that you've decided to go fully Webflow development.
We're going product and we're going content. We are continuing to grow our agency side. Our development-only projects are going very, very well. We are getting more projects, and the agency side is growing. However, I'm now trying to step away from the agency side so that I no longer have to actively manage it. And I want to spend my time growing the product side and the content side. That means more tools for the community, more products, whether it be free products or paid products. And I think within the next few years, Finsweet can be primarily a products and content company over an agency.
Awesome. That's really cool. So I guess you guys are pretty excited about the prospect of potentially Webflow plugins being a thing as well in the near future.
Absolutely. We're training. We're practicing right now for it. We're trying to make our own plugins and try to integrate as natively as possible. But when they do release that native plugin market, we are going to be all in it 100%. We're going to allocate all of our resources to make sure that we are building plugins for that marketplace.
Awesome.
Dude, so nice. Well, this is the moment where I'd ask the room to put their hands together and give Joe a little clap for joining us. And thanks again, Joe, for sharing with us. Would you like to share with the room where they can sort of continue to follow your journey and the best place to keep up to date?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to tell you about our Effin' Growth podcast. This is something that we do every Tuesday at 12 o'clock U.S. Eastern Time. That's US New York time. And we talk about business. It's not really about design or development or specifics inside Designer. We're talking about how to grow your Webflow business. So it's very casual. It's just like this, where we're just hanging out, having fun, talking about topics, taking questions. And that's why I'm here today. I love doing this. I love communicating with the community. I love sharing knowledge. I love learning. And yeah, come check us out. That's growth.finsweet.com. And you can vote for our next episode, sign up for updates. And that is how you can continue to follow us.
Thank you so much, mate. It's been a real pleasure to have you here and just to speak with us, and hopefully maybe we'll be able to see you in the future as well. But as I said, guys, if you are on is it on Spotify, Joe, your podcast?
Not yet. We decided that we want to film a library of podcast episodes, and then we're going to edit it all and release it as a full series. So within the next month or two, it's going to be on Spotify. We're going to have mini clips. But for now, it's just live. And then we go and upload that direct to YouTube after the live stream.
Awesome. Okay, so if anybody wants to keep up to date, then go to Joe's YouTube, right? Is Finsweet on YouTube?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. So check Joe out on YouTube. Myself, I've tuned into a couple of the episodes now, and they're definitely quite fun with Raymar as well. Sebastian, if the guys want to follow you, where can they find your details?
Just follow me on Instagram. Yeah, that would be the easiest. I wanted to say something what I wanted to find really helpful, because we had it the last time in our discussion that GDPR, CCPA compliance in Webflow. We had a discussion about it, and I just saw the video that you did. Really nice. It was helpful also to the guys that are listening. We had this topic last week, so I can recommend you to just go in this YouTube video and listen to it from Joe.
Thank you, Sebastian. And yeah, in 1 to 2 weeks from now, we are going to release this really powerful cookie consent plugin for Webflow. This is going to be our easiest product to use yet. Requires no code, just data attributes. We're super excited to get this to everybody, because cookie consent, GDPR, it's confusing. We're trying to make that a lot more clear for everybody.
Yeah, I totally get you, and I think it's for lots of developers a problem. Also, I think from the setting point of view, because the bigger companies, they have this data privacy officer on the company, and when they say, hey, it's not working like this, you need to have it like in the correct way. So I think this is something really nice that you guys developed.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks again to Joe and Sebastian for joining us. As I said, this group is on Clubhouse, the Webflow group, so please do join and get notified of when our next event is on. We've got midweek networking on Wednesday, where we'll be inviting everyone up onto the stage, and it's kind of just like a Q&A where you can ask questions about what you're struggling with at the moment, and everybody in the group can kind of help you with that. And it's a great confidence builder as well if you're new to networking or doing business with other people. So yeah, guys, this has been Webflow Weekend Hustle, 5 p.m. GMT every Saturday, and that's 1 o'clock ET. So I want to say thanks again to Sebastian and Joe. We'll be closing out the room now, but please follow all of us, and also follow somebody in the audience as well, because you'll never know what sort of room that they'll unlock for you. And yeah, guys, until next time, really thank you to Joe and Sebastian again, and see you next Wednesday for our next event.
Yeah, thank you as well, guys. Have a nice weekend.
Thanks, everybody. It was great to be here. Have a great weekend.